So if you ever wondered why your chickens just all of a sudden stop laying eggs, like almost abruptly, well here's why, and I'm going to show you how to fix it. So if you have any roosters in your flock, it could be them. The reason is basically because they love to mate with chickens, and unfortunately they do it more than once every day. And when I say more than once, I mean probably like 50 times per chicken per day. They cannot help themselves. Either way, look at that chicken right there. She's missing a lot of feathers on her back. That's because of my annoying rooster, Falcon. Yeah, he can be real annoying sometimes. And not only that, but him mating with the chickens really also does slow down the egg production. The reason is because they're losing feathers. They need to spend their energy regrowing the feathers, while he is constantly ripping them back out. And while doing so, that also means that he is basically just halting their egg production, since they're trying to waste all their energy on, regrowing their feathers. That leads me into my second reason why they do that, and this is molts. Now, there's no way to prevent molts, unlike roosters. There's an easy way to prevent them. Either get rid of them, or you need to seriously tame that rooster. But molting, yeah, that's another big reason, and unfortunately it cannot be stopped. So when your chicken is losing tons of feathers, like you'll notice like their tail's gone, most of their feathers are gone, that's because of molt. And basically every chicken will end up doing this someday. It's just my point here is that chickens molt, your big molt is usually about 1.5 years in, and they have another one about 1.5 years later, so around 3 years, they have another molt. They usually molt pretty heavily in the months of September and October of their first year. And then they'll molt pretty hard in May or June in their third year. So the easy way to stop this is, there is no easy way to stop this because molts are unpredictable. The third reason would be because of weather-related conditions. So in our area, we're currently in a pretty bad and devastating drought. And if you're in a pretty bad and devastating drought, or you're in a huge spike of rain like last year we were in a pretty awful flood season here. And yeah, that's another reason why they're not doing it, because, well, it's just, I think the mud just released an awful smell under their yard, and they just couldn't tolerate it, so they couldn't lay their eggs. And that's exactly what happens to a lot of people when they go about doing this stuff. So whenever your chickens are going through this stuff, they'll halt their egg production, so that way they can conserve water, or at least conserve, their tolerance to water, because, well, they're going to be wasting their energy wading through mud for the entire day. The ducks, on the other hand, well, they enjoy water, so it's not really a big deal. Predatorial stress, that's also a big reason why. So if you notice that you're recently losing a couple chickens a day, or a chicken a day, it's either like a red-tailed hawk, a fox, coyote, it could be anything that you could possibly think of. Those are what cause stress among chickens. The reason is just basically because, the chickens, they're getting really stressed. They understand there's a threat near them. They understand that they could be the next one. So whenever you notice that you are losing chickens, I want you, if you have a portable chicken coop, move them. But if you don't have a portable chicken coop, I'd recommend doing everything in your power to stop this. This one is easily preventable. Same goes for flooding. What you need to do is you need to, install a drain into their yard if you're keeping them there for more than 1 year at a time. And for drought, well, there's not really a solution for that, unfortunately. Now, the environment that they are in is a big factor into their egg production. So in this area, you can clearly see that they're in a fairly calm environment. I want to say maybe like 110 feet, 120 feet from the road. So the noises here are a lot quieter, so they're not going to have to deal with hearing car noises every minute and 25 seconds. Because, well, they don't have to deal with that because they're about 110, 120 feet from the road, so it's not a big deal. But, if they're closer to the road, or they're in an area where, it gets real windy, and there's tons of trees and branches are falling everywhere, there's, I don't know, let's just say you have a walnut tree, walnuts are falling out of the trees, leaves are flying at their face, everything's just a rough environment for them. Just simply the stress of that will cause them to just halt their egg production. And yeah, an easy way to do this is an easy way to solve this is to find an area where you would like them the most. This is why you experiment before you officially move them outside. So 3 to 6 weeks before you move them outside, or once they're able to be tolerated, if you get them in March, you might want to tolerate them. You want to see if they're tolerant outside in April or May, and check and see how they're doing outside with their production. Not production, because probably they don't produce eggs at 7 weeks old. Just let them outside and see what they react in that area. If they If they react poorly or even scared, that might mean there's something in the area that's making the environment unenjoyable for them. So make sure the environment is enjoyable. Another big and common reason why they stop producing eggs is because their feeders or their waterers are just completely bone dry. So if their feeders or waterers are just bone dry, what you need to do is you need to refill them. That is probably the easiest fix that is out there. Yeah, my rooster is just too loud. He makes editing unenjoyable because I have to work a lot and see if my videos are actually audible when that happens. So yeah, simply put it, just fill up their feed and waterers and put it in a spot that they'll find it, because sometimes it's just them not being able to find their feed or water sometimes, especially if you have a portable chicken coop that moves them to new locations, you know. New locations are also a big stress, so make sure your chickens probably won't produce, like their egg production might drop by about 10 to 20% over the course of the next few days after you move them to a new location. Now in mid to late 2020, so the third and fourth quartile section of 2020, we moved our ducks out into their pet flock. And during this time, the ducks were establishing their order of dominance above the chickens. And because of this, the chickens, they weren't really too, you know, happy with that. So, you know what they did? They ended up fighting a lot. And pecking order updates, and even just moving like new chickens or ducks or even just any poultry in general out to the chicken flock, that'll cause them to halt their egg production as they have to deal with something entirely different. And during that season, there was tons of feathers spewing everywhere because, well, that season with ducks probably is going to last for like 5 to 8 weeks. For geese, I'm pretty sure that'll probably last for like half a year, so be prepared for a low amount of eggs for a long period of time if you notice that you know, your egg production, if you notice that you're moving out any new chickens or ducks or anything out to the mix.